start this. Okay, let's start with the operations part. What I'll do is let me delete all of this as we usually do, and remove, delete, yes, delete. Okay, there are so many tabs opened up. Let me close all tabs. Okay, let's start discussing this. So the Java class. Mhm. Let me write operations then. Okay, now this is the class. What I'll do next is let me main, right, and here what we'll do is let's talk about the first type of operations, which are arithmetic operations. So I think everyone is aware what are arithmetic operations, but let me just say it there. So you can have an operation like saying that int c equals to, let's say I have a variable uh, int a equals to 5, int b equals to 8, right? And what you can do is using the arithmetic operations, you can do some operations like submission, which is the addition part, right? Like this, right? Or you could do the minus subtraction part like this, or you could multiply it by this, or you could divide it by this, right? Again, what data type you should use, it is on you, right? Because now we have discussed about data type, so I'm not going in that discussion. But based on your needs, you have to decide what data type is suitable enough to perform that operation. If you're dividing a number and you want to hold the value in a float value, right, then you will use a float variable. In this case, if you use int c equals to a by b, it will just skip the decimal part and it will keep the integer part of it, right? Again, we have discussed all this, so I'm not going there, but I just wanted to just tell you, like, these are termed as what? These are termed as arithmetic operations, where you can do a plus, minus, multiply, and all that, right? The second operation is about relational operations. Relational operations are what? Like, if you are comparing two values, and based on the comparison, you will return a Boolean value. That is what relational operation is. So if you have, let's say this, if a is greater than b, right, then you will say s out greater, right? Else you will say s out lesser. So what happens here is you are you're comparing two values, right? You're comparing two values. So if you have to compare the values, so one of the operation is this greater sign. Similarly, you can have a less than sign, right? Then, right, this is one of the thing. And then what you can do is you can use a compound relational operation also, where you can do two things together. You can say either a should be greater than equal to b, or a should be less than equal to b, right? So nothing new here, right? I'm just trying to cover the part, right, so that you're aware like what the terminology is. Okay, less than equal to, greater than equal to, greater than, less than, right? So these are called what? These are called relation operators. Here the two values are compared and you get the output of it, whether it's whether it is true or not. So the output is of type what? Boolean type, right? Okay. The next part, let's talk about equality. What is equality? If you can, here you want to compare two values and to check whether both the values are same or not, right? If you compare a equals to b, what will happen here? A is 5, b is 8. It will return false, right? It will return false. So you're comparing those two values, right? Now equality is a very important operation, right? Why I'm saying this? Because you will feel about it when we discuss about, currently we're discussing about primitive data types, right? But when we discuss about objects, right, then you will understand like why this is important, right? I'll come to that part. I'll maybe I'll show you here itself. You see here, if I try to run this, let's see this. If I say it's equal, okay, equal, or if it is not equal, I want to print what? I want to print not equal, not equal. Okay, not equal. Let us try to print this. Int a, okay, equal, not equal, and all this. My focus is on this part, but let's just print this part also so that we are covering this. Hey, hi Suzula. Good evening. So you can see, right? If you're comparing, if you're trying to see in this operation, what happened? A less than equal to B, right? Once you're checking it, is like we are doing 5 less than equal to 8. So either the 5 should be less than 8 or it should be equal to 8. So in that case, right, this meets the condition. So that's why it went inside this and printed greater, right? So this comparison, right, this relational operation returned a boolean value as true, and that's why the if block worked and the greater got printed as an output. Okay, but again, let's focus on this equality part, which is more important. If you would see here, right, a if you want to compare two values, right, you should not be doing something like this, that a equals to b. A equals to b is an assignment operation. You are assigning one value to the other. Okay, it is not a comparison operation. If you want to compare two values, right, what you should do is you should use double equal to, not a single equal to. Okay, so here you can see, right, a was 5 and b is 8, right? What you are getting, you're not getting equal, but because this did not return true, it didn't false, so that's why it went there and it printed not equal. Okay, but here we're discussing about primitive data types. Let me create some objects, right? Let me create some objects. One of the objects which Java already provides you is string, right? We know that string is a class in Java, right? It's not a primitive data type. So if I say string name equals to Akhil, right? And if I try to compare this now, let me do this. I will say name equal to Akhil. What do you think it should return? Charlie?
Name equal to Akhil.
It should return what?
Yeah,
Equal, right?
equal.
Equal,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think it should return equal?
Uh,
Because
Actually,
here,
the logic. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, please continue. You tell me.
Can you scroll up? Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
String
Okay.
name is equal to Akhil, and so it will compare that with Akhil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the output will be equal.
Okay. Tell me one more thing. String is what? String is a class,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
class, right? So
Yeah.
here, what is happening when you do this operation? What is exactly happening? A new instance of a string class is getting created, right?
Yes.
With the value as Akhil.
Yes.
We,
Yes.
we are we are all fine with this explanation, right? We have already covered it, right?
Yes.
So if I go back, right? Okay, let it be here only. So you see this, right? So keeping that discussion in mind, it if you try here, right? If you're trying to compare these two objects, so name is an object now, right? It's not a primitive data type, first of all, right? It's an object. Name is an object, right?
Yeah.
Right, which is pointing to this value here,
Yes.
and right, and here you're trying to compare an object to a
String.
this value, right? To a
Yeah.
value. Again, when you say string is again an object, right?
Yeah.
So here also it's like this only, right? So here the comparison is you're trying to do a comparison on a string class, right? And here the values are getting compared. Now, ideally, right? In ca- String is a special case. Okay, string is a special case. Why it's a special case? We'll talk about that part also. But try to understand here, right? In case of strings, when the two values are compared, right, it compares the values only, right? Like in this case, it is comparing, it will do something like this. It will say name was Akhil, right? So it is something like this. Okay, it will try to compare this. Is Akhil equal to Akhil? Yes, it is equal to. So it will go and print this, right?
Yes.
Right, let's see, let me first remove this part, or let me comment this part. uh, Equal, right? It says equal. Let me do the other operation. Let me say new string Akhil, right? I did this. Now let's me make the comparison. I can do this, right, everyone? I can do this, right? Let's run this now. It says not equal, right? It says not equal. Why is that? Abhilash shared one snapshot, I think few days back, where he was telling about a string pool, right? And the other thing. Okay. So we'll talk about this. Okay, we'll talk about this. Why this did not work. Okay, we'll talk about it. But try to understand, right? If you're not doing this operation, and if you do something like this, right, Akhil, and you try to compare these two values now, right here. Here the values are being compared. Okay, and here you are getting that equal thing. Similarly, let's say I have another class. Let's say I will create a class. Uh, See, this equal part is very important because when we will start discussing about collections, right? The knowledge around equal thing, right? Will I mean maybe for you guys, right? Maybe when you have to use it, you may not find the importance of it, right? Because it is internally managed inside it, right? But you, if I go to explain you in depth, like why collections work the way they work, then at the root of it, right, you will find two concepts. One is equals method and another is the hash code. Okay, other is the hash code. Again, we don't know about what is hash code, so leave that discussion aside. But we know about equals, right? What is equal? Equal is a method which compares two things together, and you can get it, right? Something around it. So, but let's keep it aside. Let me just explain like what I'm trying to explain here. Let me create a class as car. Okay, what I'll do here is I will create a, instance variable, let's say string name. Okay, and I will create a constructor of it. I will make a constructor as public car string name, this dot name equals to name. Okay, this always refers to your instance, right, which is invoking this, and here this dot name will refer to this name here, right, and this name is referring to this variable again. We'll talk about this again, but let's just focus on what we're trying to do here. Let me also make it public only so that I can access directly. Okay, now if I go back and I try to create the instance of the car class, what can I do? I can say something like this: car, let's say Maruti equals to new car Maruti. Okay, and let me make another car. Let us say car Ferrari equals to new car Ferrari. Now, Ashok, tell me if this time instead of comparing strings, which is anyhow the class is only, right? String was a class, right? But let's say I don't want to compare strings. I want to compare these cars. Can I do it? First of all,
I think to compare the strings or the contents, we should use dot equals method.
okay, we'll go into that method also, right? After once you answer this, tell me this: if I do something like this, Maruti equals to Ferrari, what will happen in this case? What are we trying to do here? First of all,
Both the references are different. I think it should output as not equal.
when you say reference, right? What do you mean by that? I mean,
I mean, like, be it like address or within
address.
the string pool, if we have the same string already exists, so it won't be creating again. So if it doesn't, it will create and it will assign a new address to it.
You're talking about this for string or for the car classes?
Uh, I think that is applicable to object creation also, because we are using new keyword, I think. So it will create a new reference for Maruti and Ferrari. When the references are different, it will not throw output as equal. It will be resulting into not equal.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. See here, I will now explain like what Ashok said, right? We have already discussed about the heap and the stacks, right? Like how it works, right? If you create a variable, where does it go? Whether it goes in the heap or a stack, based on what kind of variable or data type you're creating, right? So we have discussed on it. So assuming that you still remember, right? Let me just say it here. It's a heap memory. Let's say it's a heap memory here. Okay, it's a heap, and anytime you do a operation, let's say new car, right? You're trying to create a new object, and where does the object exist? It gets created on the heap, right? So all the objects, right? All the objects, whatever they are, right? Whatever where they will getting generated, they will getting generated in the heap memory, right? And what will get added here? What will get added here in the call stack? In the stack, sorry, right? What will get added here? The variable names and the reference name, right? So here what will happen is what we termed it as car Maruti, right? Car Maruti equals to new car, and we have what? Let's say I mentioned Maruti, right? Or any other name, whatever that is. And I also did Ferrari equals to new car Ferrari, right? Now what happens is as soon as you see a new keyword, we understand by now it should be very clear what will happen is a new object will get created of a car class. So a new object got created for the car class, right? So this is my car object. Okay, this part. So this part is here, right? This part is here, right? Now here, right? It's a car. It's an object of your class, right? The car class, and here you have set the name of your car as what? Name as what? Maruti. Okay, this is what you have said. This is the instance variable name. This one, right? This variable name, right? It's an instance variable, and you have set the name as Maruti because of the constructor part, right? When you run this line, what happens here? Another object gets created for the car, right? And here the name is what? Ferrari. So these are only about the objects. Where are these variables are getting created? These are getting created where? In the stack. We discussed this, right? The if uh, your instance variables gets created here in the heap, but your local variables gets created in the stack only, right? Here what we have created, it's a look, it's a local variable, right? It's a local variable here. It is inside a method, Maruti and Ferrari. So let's say Maruti got created here and Ferrari got created here. Okay. Now Maruti is pointing to this, right? And Ferrari is pointing to this, right? Now I'm saying Maruti, I'm trying to compare here. Maruti equals to Ferrari. What is happening here? What will happen here? We also talked about the address positions, right? If you remember the if you talk about stack, right? How the values are stored. The values are stored in this way. You have an identifier. Identifier is what? These variable names. So let's say Maruti, right? So these are identifiers. These are the address positions of it. Address positions of it. And these are the value which they hold. Okay. So if we talk about Maruti, Maruti got added here. So this is about stack. And in case of heap, what happens is it has two things. It has the address value, okay, the address position, and has the value of it, right? Whatever value it has. Now, see here, when you say Maruti, it does not have the identifier because identifier is placed here only, right? You can see identifiers are what? Maruti and Ferrari, right? These are identifying these objects. These are the ones which are pointing to it. So that's why in the heap address, I'm not mentioning identifier here. But in case of stack, I'm doing. So Maruti, once I'm on this line, what happens? Maruti gets created here. there's an address position in the stack. Let's say it is 0001. So 0001 got created here. And what is the value it is pointing to? It is pointing to whom? It is pointing to the address position of the car sitting in heat. So if let's say, right? So let's say the value of this car is what this object, right? So I don't know like how to represent here, but let's say it is this only. Name equals to Maruti, right? Let's say. But what is the address position? Let's say the address position of this is 00, let's say 2, right? So 0002 is this value here, right? And the value is this. So Maruti, whose place in the stack and whose address is this, what is the value for this? It is not this thing, right? It is this address, right? Here Maruti is pointing to whom? It is pointing to this object, right? Which, so here it will refer it by the address position of that object there, right? Which is sitting in the heap. Okay. Similarly, when the next thing happens, Ferrari, again, Ferrari will take a space, will take a memory space here, right? And the address of it, let's say 0033. And now the next line runs after this, which is new car. The name gets added here, new Ferrari. And what is the address which should get generated here? Let's say 004. 0004, right? And this is the value of it, added here. So what it is pointing to? It is pointing to this thing, not to this 0004. Okay. Now, if you try to compare these Marutis and Ferrari, right? What is happening here? Is this value same? These are not same, right? These are not same. You are comparing Maruti and Ferrari, and the comparison of when you use equal, double equal, right? It compares values, right? But here the values are different, right? It is pointing to some other address position. It is pointing to some other address position. So that's why it will be like this: 00 equal to 2, 0004, which is not same, which is not equal to, right? It's a not equal to operation. So that's why it will return not equal to. Let's try this. If I go back on this part and try to compare this, if Maruti equals to Ferrari, let's run this. Hopefully, it should be not equal. Let's see. Not equal, right? It's not equal. But you have to understand why it is not equal. Any question on this part? No questions? Kusuma, this is clear, right?
Yes, Akhil.
Okay, great. Let's talk about the other thing. Let me say, I will create a car of Maruti name only. Let's say I will do this now. Now, if I compare my Maruti with Ferrari, what would be the output? Tell me. You can add in the chat box, everyone, please. Tell me, will it return true or false? If I now compare Maruti and Ferrari, where both have the same, I mean, the value in the object is same, right? So based on what I just explained you, tell me what should be the value here? If I'm comparing Maruti with Ferrari. Okay. Only Sudhakar mentioned right now. Kusuma, okay. Yeah, please provide your input. No worries. It's okay. No, it's not equal. Okay. Not equal. False. False. Ananya? Still thinking. They're not equal, it seems. Not equal, right? Why do you think that way? If I open this chart here again, what is happening now? See this chart again, right? Try to understand from this chart. What is happening here? This line is same. Car Maruti equals to new car Maruti, right? So as soon as you see a new object, it gets created here, right? New Maruti, and it has a new address position. And if you write this here, whether you write Ferrari or you write Maruti, what is happening here? A new address position will be created, right, for this object, which is 004. So similarly, I mean, keeping these things in here, right? It is still the same, right? Where Maruti is still pointing to 002 address, right? Right? And here Ferrari is still pointing to 004. So if you compare them now, also it will should return false only. Sudhakar, you understood this part?
Yes, Akhil. The thing is like, my question is like, we have a pooling concept. If the same value has been created, means the object reference also pointing to the same exact reference, right? For example, you created Maruti as values of Maruti. So next you have created Ferrari, the value with the same Maruti. So it does not create another duplicate object with this Maruti. So the Ferrari also pointing to the exact. We have already Maruti, right? That
Okay.
that
Let,
will
let me let
pointing
me
to
tell
the.
you let me tell you one thing first. The rule which you are mentioning, right? It is for strings class. Okay. For any other class, that rule does not exist. Okay. Car is not a string class, right? You getting this,
Sorry, yeah, sorry, yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
for
yeah,
car,
got it.
for any other class, that rule does not exist. It is only for the string.
Mm,
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay. So now you understand, right? That why it would be false. But let's try actually. I did not try it. Let's try. Maybe I am wrong. Let's try. Maruti, right? Let me run this. Let's see what do we get. Hopefully it should be not equal to only, right? Not equal. Okay. I hope now this is clear, right? Now we understood, right? What is happening with when you use double equal to? It is trying to compare the value. Okay. It is trying to compare the value. Okay. Now let me do one more thing. Let me say I'll add another, let's say BMW. But this time what I will do is I will do something like this. Now tell me if I write a code on this Maruti equals to BMW, what will happen in this case? Will it return true or will it return false? True. Okay, Kusuma said true. Just one said false. Rafaela said true. Sudhakar said true. Okay, true. Okay. Okay, let's try. Let's run this, right? Let's run this and see what do we get. You see, it returned equal. Why did it return equal this time? It returned equal this time because if you would like at the if you look at the diagram again, right? What is happening there? You would said car Maruti equals to new car Maruti, which is this one, right? It got created this, right? And when you did this, it made an entry of this part, which is okay. Then the next thing which you did was you write those you wrote this line. Car BMW equals to Maruti, right? You did this. What will happen in this case? You're saying first of all BMW will get created here. It will have, let's say, a position of 0004 or 5, let's say, right? But what is the value it is pointing to? It is saying you're saying equal to Maruti, right? When you say when you do something operation like this, right? Uh, I mean equal to when you did this equal to Maruti, you are anyhow trying to set the value of that variable. Maruti is the variable name, right? Like this here, right? What is the value it currently has on this tag? 0002. So what will set here? 0002. Okay. That is what it is happening here, right? When you write this line. That's why when you're comparing this, these are coming as equal. Right, Nishwant? I hope you understood this part. Okay. Now, okay, this is about this double equal to operation, right? This double to equal to operation. There is one more thing which Ashok was mentioning, which is the equals method, which we have seen in the string class also, right? Let's try to use it. Let's try to see what happens there. So you have to understand with when you use double equal to, it is always checking your value. Okay, your value. What is the value it holds? It holds this value, right? This is what it is checking here. Okay. Now, what happens in case of equals, right? And mind you, equals works for objects only. It is not required to be used for primitive data types. So we are not going to discuss that part, right? We're only going to discuss about the equals part. So let me just write it here in this table, right? So we have two types of, let's categorize everything into two category. One is a string. We'll take one example of string and we will take another example of, let's say, car, right? Car will represent any other class in Java, right? Let's say apart from string. Now we'll see, like, if we do an equal to operation and if we do equals, what happens? Okay, we need to understand this very clearly. First of all, let's take some examples of string. I will specifically take some examples of string and let's try to understand this. What should I do? Let me, okay, here only. Let me cut it to the top and place it here. Okay, so let's leave it. So we have string name equals to Akhil, right? Now tell me, I think, just a second, let me open the chart which Abhilash shared, which was about that string pool thing, right? I think it was a good chart. So let us see where it was. Uh, yeah, this one. Let me bring the thing. Okay, so this is the chart which Abhilash shared. Okay, where it says, you can see. Let's try to understand this chart. If you would see this string a equals to 1, if you write this line, right, you see there is a section. Okay, let me remove this. You see there is a section here, string pool, okay, where your objects are getting created. Okay, and again, when I'm saying all this, this is only valid for string class only, right? So there's a concept of string pool, okay, where if you are creating a string like this, where you say string a equal to and the value of the string, when you do this, right, what happens is all these new things, right, are getting created in this string pool. And if there is already a value matching to what you're trying to create, it will not create a new one. It will simply point to that value here. You can see when you created string a equals to 1, it did created one object for this, which is this one, right? But the next time when you try to create another one, right, it first tried to see, does I already have in string pool the same value, which it did. So this time it did not created a new object, rather it just pointed this thing to this. Okay, right? But you see this part where it is saying string d equals to new string 1. What is happening here? It is like it is creating a new object every time. It will say new string 1 here. You can see 1 is being printed here, right? So it is not being consumed from the string pool. Next time if I do string e equals to new string 1, right, it should create a new object here, right, with the name as 1 again, right, Abhilash? That is what it should happen.
Yes, Akhil.
Yes. No, I guess. Actually, no, no. Even if you create a string literal, the JVM automatically creates object, right? Akhil.
Let's see it. Let's see this. Let's do it. What I'll do is, you see this string name equals to Akhil, right? See, if you're saying that whenever I'm doing this, it creates a new object, right? Every time, right, Sudhakar?
Think, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So,
Internally, it will create an object, I guess.
right. So if that is true, so if I try to compare those two values, right, it should return what? It should not return a mere true value, right? I mean, let's try to see this. I think we can also print the address of it, but how can I print the address? Let me think. How can I print the address position of a name string value? Does anyone know how we can print this address of it? Name dot. I don't think we can. Okay, let it be. Let it be. I will first let's just do this. I will say string last name equals to, okay, let's say again, right?
Yeah, that's fine, Akhil. These two are pointing to the same reference, same location. My thing is, even if you create an object like string is equal to yes is equal to new, even if
Let,
you create with a
let me
new keyword,
do it. Let
yeah.
me do it. String uh what should we say? First name, let's say, right? First name, let me do what? Let me say new string Akhil, right? Now, what you are saying is, when I'm doing this, like tell me, look, tell me, help me design this on the chart here. Okay, help me design it here. So it is my heap. Okay, the first line which I wrote is this.
Here in that this snaps table, then we can go ahead and use this table, those columns.
You're saying something, Sudhakar? You're not very much audible.
No, no.
Okay. See, what is happening here is object of which is holding a value as name will get created here, right? A string object, right? Let's say. Oh, sorry, not name, Akhil. Sorry, Akhil, right? It gets created here when this first line runs, right? When this line runs. Let me keep it in a better way, but okay, I'll leave that. Okay. Just a second. Right? So this name thing, right? This name thing is pointing to this part. We are good on this, right, Sudhakar? Sudhakar, we are good on this, right?
I was talking on mute.
Some of it's possible, some of
This is fine, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's check the next thing. So it says string last name equals to okay. Now tell me I'm writing last name here, which is in the stack. What should I do here? Should I create a new object or no?
No, no. It will pointing to the same. Okay.
Okay. And what will happen in the next case?
build the report. If it is
Which is string first name equals to new string Akhil.
Yeah.
What will happen in this case?
And thinking like even the first time also pointing to that object.
This one only. So you're saying I will have a variable here in the stack, and it will point to this thing only, right? Right? You're saying this only, right? So
Yes, yes.
if this is correct, if you compare name equals to last name,
First time.
let's say, right? If you compare name with last name, it should return what? It should return true,
Yes.
right? And if you do
Yes.
name equals to first name, right? This is the last name, this is the last name, and this is the first name. It should also return true.
Yes.
Okay. This is one part. Tell me about equals method also. If I write name equals
Yeah. Equals.
Last
Return everything is true. I guess.
this will also return true. Okay. Name dot equals first name. You're saying this should return true. Okay.
Yes.
What my understanding says is what will happen here is I told you in case of equal to, right? What happens is it compares the value. Okay. It compares the value for the string part. Okay, let me show you. I think it would be making more sense here. But what I'm saying is, when you said this, right, this is not correct. Otherwise, what will happen in this case is, it would be like this. You will have Akhil here, okay, and the name would be pointing to this, and last name would be pointing to this, okay. And what will happen is, when you do new string Akhil, right, a new object will be created here, okay, and this will be pointed by the first name. This is my observation. But this is what I'm saying. So we are just, I mean, your and my opinion varies on this part, right? I'm saying this is true, and you're saying this is the part which is happening really, right? So let's see our output. We'll get to know what is the output we get, right?
Yes.
In your case, if everything is matching, everything should
Yeah.
return true only, right? Let's see this. What I'll do is if name equals to last name.
Just verify with first name or last name. Actually, the name and last name are.
No, I want to
clear.
print everything. I want to print everything because it would be very easy for everyone else also. Just a second. Huh? So if I do name equals with the last this thing, it is fine now, right?
Yes.
Now let me also do the next comparison, which is with the equals method. So okay, let me just make it maximized. Save some space, and let me show you this, right? So this part is already done, and we are here. So I will say dot equals Okay, by the way, equals method, every class, right? Every class you have, which you create, right, will have this method. Why? Can anyone tell me? It's a method, right? We all can see it's a method here. Equals is a method because you're using a dot operation. Why every class has this method? No?
To compare the values in objects, I guess.
But why? You did not create that method, then how come that class has this method?
From object class.
Right, right, absolutely right. That is what the point is, right? Every class in Java is directly or indirectly getting created from which class? Object class. So because of the hierarchy of the tree, right? This class also has equals method, string also has equals method, right? Okay, right, everyone. An object class do has this method, equals method. It has some other methods which I told you, hash code, notify, wait, notify all, right? There are other methods which the object class has, which every other class attains because they are inheriting from the object class. So equals is that method, right? Now let's print this as per Sudhakar, right? We should see four equal thing, right? Four equal thing, and let's print this. Let's see what do we get. I'm not printing anything else, right? Let's run this. Let's see our output. Oh, great. Now see this. First output is equal. Let's first understand this, right? What it is saying. You're trying to compare name to a last name. Okay? A name to a last name. What happens in this case? Name and last name, right, are pointing to this Akhil only, right? So what is happening? This is fine. So it should return Akhil only. I mean, sorry, equal only, right? When you do name equals to first name, what is happening here? I told you it compares the value, right? What is the value here? If these were the same object, right? If this was the same object, let's say the address portion of this is, let's say, 004, right? And in the stack, what you should see, you would have seen something like this. Let me get it here. In the stack, you would have seen name, last name, and the first name, right? These are the identifier. The address positions are, let's say, 0001, 2, and 3. What is the value 01 is pointing to? 0004. What is the value last name is pointing to? If I'm talking about if Sudhakar's version was correct, it would say 004. And for the first name also, what is the value it is pointing to? 0004. Right? So if you did this, name equals to last name. Yes, both are matching. So it returned true. If this was 4A, right? Then this should have also been true and should have written true. But in our case, we are seeing it is false. Why is that? If you have an answer to that, then tell me, Sudhakar. Why do you think it returned false? Because you just saw, right? It returned false here. Why is that? See, you have to
Identifier location, I guess. Identifier address.
not the identifier address. It addresses this, right? The value. Okay. This is the call stack memory thing, right? So this is the identifier. This is the address table created in the call stack. For this, right, for the objects created in the heap, there is a memory address created for the heap separately, where you will have only address and value, right? Address and value.
Yes.
So here, when you created this thing, right? So address is 004 and it is pointing to this Akhil here, right? Whatever that thing is, right? Akhil here. Now, this 004 is not the actual value which it is pointing to, rather it's the address position, right? Right. So in this
Yes.
case, right, why it is false and false? Because then the case is that this first name might not be referring to the same object, and which is absolutely correct, because you did what? You did something like this: new string, right? New string Akhil. You did this, right? So what will happen in this case? It will create a new object of Akhil here. Okay. Now since you created it, it will have a new address here, 0005. Okay, 005, and here you will have 5 here, and that is this is the actual table which is getting generated. Now, if you compare this, name equals to last name, yes, it is true. But this is not true. It is false because these are not matching. This thing and this thing is not matching, right? That's why it written false. We are okay on this part, right? Sudhakar now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So again, let me say it again. What we saw on that chart, right, which Abhilasha shared. See this very clearly, right? When you are not using new string, what happens in that way? You have a string pool which is managing all your objects. Okay. If there is an object with this with the value already created inside this, it will be reused, right, and assigned to someone else if someone is trying to create up with the same object name. You can see string A and B are pointing to the same object. It is not that the two different objects were created for it, right? But when you did string D equals to new string one, it created a new object outside the string pool. Okay, and let us see this example now. What I will do next is I will create another variable, string middle name, let's say, and I do new string, right, and I will say Akhil. Let us see what output do we see now, and let me just comment everything. Okay, let me comment everything here, and let's just compare only this value. Why I'm doing this is because I just wanted to show you that if you use this new thing, right, every time a new object gets created. So if I compare first name with the middle name, what should be my output?
Not
Okay,
equal
system
to.
not equal to, right? Not equal to. So let me run this. And why is that? Because this time two new objects would be created, which are, because you use new thing, right? New string. It will not be created inside a string pool. It will be created outside the string pool. Okay. Let me run this. Not equal, right? Why it is not equal? Because these are two different objects. Okay. Right, everyone? So we understood how equals work. It compares the value which you have in your thing there. Yes, Fizla, please.
I'm sorry if I missed a small part of it. I was a bit away. So the line number 9, right? Is it
Right,
creating
number
a,
9.
it's creating a yeah, it's creating a
Hmm.
literal, right, or an object, or is it same literals and objects? Because
No, these are not same. These are not same. Literal is any is any value which you can assign, right? So the terminology says literal, right? But literal, if you specify int a equals to one is literal. If you assign character c equals to a is literal. If you are saying string name equals to Akhil, Akhil is literal. You're getting that part. What is literal meaning, right? What is the meaning of literal? When you say object, right? You have to understand objects only gets created for classes, right? And for string, you can create an object if you, even if you're writing this line here, which I hope you understand, right? That here string name is the name of the variable, right? And the literal value it holds is Akhil, but this is actually an object, right? Which is getting created on the heap. Where on this, Vizla? Or let me repeat this if you want me to. See, what I just explained everyone is, see this, we have a heap, right? This is a heap thing, and we have a stack thing, right? Which we discussed earlier in our discussion. So see here, when you ever create a new object, right, it always gets created in the heap. So when you are saying what is a string? String is a class, right? Okay, did Fizzler drop? Okay, she dropped. Maybe some network issue. Okay, if she's back, I'll explain this. Otherwise, leave it. Okay, where were we? We were discussing about the equal method, right? And what I was saying is when you see this equal thing, right, it is comparing the value of your the value which you have in the stack, right? It is not comparing the actual value. It is really pointing to what is the actual really, what is the real actual value. The real actual value is this, right? Is this. If you would see, right, if you want to find the real actual value which this name or last name or first name is pointing to, These are not these things, right? These are these value, right? These are these things. So if you want to make a comparison not based on this, but based on this, so what thing you should use? You should use equals method. You getting this? What thing you should use? You should use equals method. Let's do it now. What I'll do here is, let me just let it be here. Let me just comment this, and let me just uncomment the below part. And this time I will just use what? I will, instead of using double equal to, I will just use equals method. Okay, see this. Equals last name. Let me quickly copy this and place it here. Ah, it automatically compared. Okay, or did I did it? Okay, it itself changed it. No, what is this doing? Name equals last name, name equals first name. Oh, I was already doing it. Sorry. Uh, oh yes, I was already. Okay, yes, I was already doing it. Uh, let's just keep it commented, right? Okay, so this is the part which I am referring to now, right? Now, if I run this now, right, what is happening? Name equals, we are checking name dot equals last name. What will happen in this case is, again, equals methods works for Fizula. I will answer your query again, right? You dropped off, so I did not answer it. So maybe I can answer afterwards, right?
Yeah, no issues. I have some internet connections which it's getting dropped off again. No issues.
Okay, okay. I will try to answer it. Okay, okay. So what is happening here is, I'm just trying to explain how does equal method work. Okay, when you say this equals method, first of all, you have to understand equals will only work for the objects. A string is an object, car is an object, right? Int I is not an object; it's a primitive data type. So equals method will not work there, right? You will not find an equals method for it. So these are only valid for objects. Okay, and since it is made for objects, right? The intention behind creating this method is that you are not relying on the address position, rather you want to rely on a exactly of the value which is sitting in the heap, right? Which is this. So instead of comparing, let's say I'm comparing name and last name. Let's say I'm comparing a name dot equals last name. If I do this, right, what will happen in this case? If it was name equal to this, right, last name, it only, it sees this table, it grabs this value and compares. If it is equal, it will say equal. If it is not equal, it will say not equal, right? But if you do this, right, what happens there is, whatever address position it may have, it will go to that address position. Okay, and it will check what is the value residing there, right? If those are same things, it will return what? True. Okay, if these are not same, it will return false. We getting this? So try to understand, where does your double equal to work at? It works at this level. Where is your equals method works? It works at this level, which is your end thing, right? Now let's try it on the string method, right? What we said, we first of all, we understood that this is the right implementation, right? Name is pointing to Akhil, last name is pointing to Akhil, and first name is pointing to Akhil here. So if you compare, if you do name equals to last name, name equals to last name, it will still return true. Or if you do name equals last name, right? So it will go to the address position, and here also things are same. So it will return true only. Okay. When you do name equals to first name here with this operation, you can see the values are different, 0004, 0005. And that's why it returned what? It returned false, right? But if you do name equals to first name here, right, with this thing, name dot equals first name, if you do this, what it will return? You can see in the end what is the value it is storing? Akhil and Akhil. So it will return true. And again, for string, it is very easy to understand because it's a value, it's a string value, right? Which you can get to know. Okay, Akhil is a string value, so I can compare those text. Okay, this is matching, so it returned true. First of all, let me show you this. but it will get complex when we talk about other objects other than string, which are like car. Okay, but let's first finish our thing on string first. So name equals last name. So we understand this will return equal only. But what about name not equals first name? I told you this time it will return equal, not equal to, right? So let's run this first of all. Uh, this button. You can see, right? Both of them equal, returned equal, right? And if I run the complete thing, you can understand again. Let me just. Okay. If I run this now, you can see this will return true, this will return false, this will return true, and the last one will also return true. See, true, false, true, true, right? Any question on this part, on the string part? And let me now come to Fizula's question if no one has a query. Fizula, when you said this, right, you were asking about this string name equals to, okay, right, what it is doing. So let me just, for your understanding, let me just say it again. You remember our discussion about call and stack, right?
Yeah, and actually I understood that, but like from my memory, like some people used to say it is literals, and then that is different from objects. Like line number 9, right? That is a literal. So I just had a doubt. Yeah, this one, string name equal to Akhil.
Right.
That is literal, and line number 13 is an object. So I was having that doubt. Is it?
You are right when you say this. You are right when you're saying this, but you have to understand string is a very special thing in Java. Okay, but you have to understand what is really happening here is when you do this equal double equal to, okay, right, it is also creating an object for you. Okay, you have to understand that here also, that instead of writing new string, okay, right, it is similar when you, whether you write this or you write this, right, it is the same thing. Okay, because both are generating you an object only. Okay,
Yeah, I know. I understood the memory and all everything. Understood. Only this doubt was there in my mind.
but if that is the, if that is the exact question you're asking, then your answer is right. Your answer is yes. So this is, you can term it as literal, but you have to understand, but for string this is an object, although as per the terminology we'll say it as literal only. Okay,
Yeah, I got it. No, understand. You just had that doubt. Fine,
okay,
got
great,
it.
great,
Okay,
great.
thanks.
Okay, so we covered about the string class, right? So let me just design a table again saying about this. So when you do this double equal to and equal to thing, right, on this string, what is happening here? The stack value is being compared, right? Stack value is compared. Here when you do equal to thing, right, the heap value is compared. Okay, you can see the value. These are being compared when you do equals. When when you do double equal to, it compares the stack value. Okay. When it comes to the car, right? When it comes to the car, what happens is, which is a custom class, right? Any other class apart from string, we'll have to first understand what happens in both the cases. Okay, let's do it. My network going down. Oh, network. Okay, sorry, my network issue. Am I audible, right? Right? Okay, great. Okay, we were discussing about the custom classes, right? The classes which we create. So let's start doing this. So if we go back, let me actually create a new method over here. Let me write public static main one. Okay, let's create a new method. Otherwise, things will get very messy. Main, and then let's do this. We will create a We already have a car class, so let me show you car class again. We have a string, we have an instance variable name, string type, and the name is name, and this is the constructor of it. So what I will do here is I will do something like this. I will say car. Again, I will say Maruti equal to new car Maruti. Okay. Now, please understand, I cannot do something like this. I cannot do something like this. Let's say Maruti 1 equals to Maruti, right? This I cannot do because this is not a string. What is Maruti here? It's a string object, right? It's a string object. And you're trying to assign it to, I mean, if you're thinking that this is same as this, right? Then it is not, right? I hope we are very clear on this part. Here, anything you have in Java in the double quotes is called a string, right? It's not like it will create a car object and it will assign a value of this thing to it. Okay. So if anyone has this doubt, please. I hope no one has it, but I just wanted to be very clear on this. Okay. So the only way you can create an object of a custom class is by writing a new keyword. Okay. That is how you create it. So let me create another class, another object of it. When I will name it as BMW as we were doing earlier, and I will say new car. Okay. And I will say let's say this time I will also say Maruti only. Okay, Maruti only. Now let's see what is happening in the background, in the heap and the stack. What is really happening? So if I go back, if I go back to our thing here, right? What I did was I wrote something like this: car Maruti equals to new car Maruti, right? And I'm saying car BMW equals to new car BMW, right? Here what is happening is this is the heap. Okay, this is the heap, and this is the call stack. Now in the first thing, right, Maruti is the variable getting created in the stack. Again, whoever is not understanding like why I'm placing something here and here, please go and refer the video which is about the stack and heap. Okay, you will find it in our in the repository, right? You will find it there. Okay, so Maruti will be getting created in the stack, and let's say this is an object being created. So an object of car will get created, and it has a value of Maruti inside this. Okay, and who is pointing to this? This Maruti is pointing to this. The next line says car BMW. It will say BMW, and let me add the address position also 001, and let's say this is the address position in this 002. Here, when you said this, it attained the value of 03, and now it's saying new car, so it will again create a new object. It will say what? It will say BMW here. Okay, and the address position is 004. Let's look at the table here. The table for heap will look like this: address and the value. So the first thing is 0002, and it is Maruti, right? Maruti thing, right? Whatever that thing is, it's Maruti. And the next item it has is about BMW. Okay, I have written it as like a string, but it is not string. It is like new car and Maruti inside this, right? So this is the exact value. So this entire thing is like placed here. Okay, this entire thing is placed here. Let's say. Okay, and again similarly, this entire thing is placed here in the memory like this. Okay, this is what it is doing here. Now, in the case of call stack, we have this position: identifier, address position, and the value position. Identifier is Maruti, address position is 001, and the value is what? Value is 002, right? The address position of it. So 0002. And here it says BMW, and it is 0003. It is pointing to 0004, right? This is what we had. Now, if you do a double equal to or single or this method, right, you can understand. Here, in case of double equal to, it will compare this. Both are different. It will return false only, right? If you try to compare this and this, because both are different, so it will return false. If you do an equal to also, then also it is. If you try to compare this, these are also different. It will also return false. What about if I try to write here Maruti, and if I try to do this, what will happen in this case? Again, it's a new car object, so a new car will be generated. So this table will look like this only. So it will be false for this also. Okay. What about this? Maruti and car. I mean, in this case, this is new car and Maruti. Okay. 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 When I'm writing this, right? Don't understand like in memory this gets saved like this. No, I'm just trying to tell you that this is the thing, right? It is, you know, that everything gets translated into a bit pattern, right? And that is in the case of hexadecimal value, where the things are getting not the hexadecimal, a binary value, right? Binary value where the things get saved in the memory, right? So don't think that this exact thing gets saved in the memory. Okay. Okay. What? Let's take this, right? So I'm comparing this value. So let me just place BMW first. Okay, and let's compare it. If I do, if Maruti equals to BMW here, right? And if I say here S out equal, and I say else, okay, our discussion on equal out itself took 1.5 hours. Great. Not equal, not equal. Okay. Maruti. And let me also use the equals method now. If Maruti dot equals, you can see, right? There is a method coming from here also. So if I do this, you can see it is not complaining. It is allowing me to do something like this, right? And let's see the output. What do we see? I hope everyone understands this and everyone will agree that it should print what? Not equal in both the cases, right? Right, everyone? I hope everyone agrees on this. Great. Now let's do one thing. Let's keep it Maruti now. How many of you think it will return equal to? For this, I'm sure you understand that it will not return equal. It will be not equal to only. What about this case? In case of string, right? In case of string, we saw that here, right? When things were being matched, right? When things were being matched, it was checking the exact string value. If it was Akhil in both the places, this was returning true, even if it is coming from a string pool and the other thing is coming from the normal heap memory, right? You remember this, right? If you if let me show you the diagram again. If you see this, right? If you compare this string A with this string D, string A, the object is getting created in string pool, and string D is getting created here outside the string pool, right? If you try to do A dot equals D, right? Okay, let's first do A double equal to D. What it will do? It is a false, because here the memory at the in this stack the value would be different, right? But if you do A dot equals D, it returns true, right? It returns true. But in case of other classes, right, what is the behavior of A dot equals D? Will it be true or false? That is something which you have to check. Okay. How many of you think it will return equal here with this operation?
Yes, it is trying to compare the contents of it.
Okay. And what is that content?
Maruti.
Maruti is what? If you say Maruti, Maruti is a string value,
Yes.
right? But you're not trying to compare here a string class. You're trying to compare here a car object, a car class. You're getting the point, right? Let me show you, right, what will happen. And you will, once you understand, once we get this right, I will print the whole table, and then I think it will make more sense for everyone so that they can comprehend it and understand better. But this was vital to show you all this. So let's see this. It will print not equal and not equal again, as per my best understanding. Not equal, not equal. How many of you think it should not have written not equal? Ashok is one. I understood this.
Yes.
Who
Need
else?
an explanation. Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at the complete table of double equal to and equals method. Okay. And I think that would end all our doubts. Although the understanding which I told you, right? Let's see here first of all. Let's draw the table. Okay. So we are talking about the equality operation which can be performed using two techniques. Either you can use double equal to or you can use an equals method. First of all, let's write down here what are the difference. Double equal to can be used for primitive data types also. Okay, but this is not true for equals. Equals cannot be used for primitive data types. Double equal to can be used for classes comparison. Yes, and this is also true for equals. For classes, when we talk about, right, again, when you are comparing double equal to, it compares the value which are placed in stack value. But when you are using equals, it compares the value which is placed in the heap value. Since primitive data types does not have equal to, so that's why for I mean the heap discussion does not come for them, right? So that's why it is already obsolete, right? It is not a part of it. But for the classes and for the everything else like classes which are string or the other classes, the heap is always there, right? So that's why when you do a equals thing, right, it is comparing a heap value. Okay. Now, so this uh, first of all, is it clear to everyone? These three differences, right? Now the last part. When we say that this is valid for classes, there are two types of classes. You can categorize the entire thing in Java into two categories. One is string and second is non-string. When I say non-string, anything apart from string class will fall into that category. Okay. So let me write here a string. So I am typing here string and let's say car, right? So which is a non-string thing, non-string class, right? And this is where the difference lies between the two. I'm coming to that part. If you do a equal thing right here, right, it is comparing a stack value, and when it is stack value, it holds for the object what it holds the address position, right? So it compares what the stack value. Okay, so if you have, let me create a heap here. If you have done something like this, string a equals to Akhil, so it will create an object like this, Akhil, right? Akhil. If you do string b equals to new string and you will say Akhil, it will do what I told you. This would be under string pool, right? String pool. And when you do something like this, right, it would be outside the string pool. So it will create an object here, right? It will create Akhil here, right? Now, if you do A equals to B, if you do this, A equals to B, what it is compare? It will try to compare the address position of these two things, right? Which are different here because these are two different objects, right? So it will return what? It will return false. Everyone agrees? Right? But if you do A dot equals B here, what will be done? It will be this time checking your your value placed in the heap, right? Which is what Akhil, right? In case of string, it is comparing this exact value, which is Akhil. Okay. So in the heap, you have Akhil placed as a value. Okay, in both the things. So if it is 002, 004, whatever that is in the heap memory, it is comparing these values. So remember for strings, right? Whatever value that string holds, that exact value is placed there. Okay. Please remember that part. So if you run this equal to, right, what it does, it is true. So it gives the impression, that that here, I mean, if you do this, it will return false. But if you do this, it will check the exact value. And you may think that okay, it means that I mean, if both are pointing to same type of data, I mean, right, like this, so it should return true only. We understood for string how it works, right? Let's see in case of car. Let me create the heap again, right? So this time I will say car, C, new car, Maruti. I did this, right? And I will do again car D equals to new car Maruti. So first of all, let's understand what will happen. See, here C will create, here D will get in the stack, and here you will have two objects, right? Everyone understand this part? Here, this thing, right? Maruti is created here, and here Maruti is again created here, right? If you do C equals to D, so address position would be compared. These are different, so it returns false, right? So if you would compare A, right? A equals to B and A equals to B for string and car have the same behavior because both of them are comparing what? Your address value, right, of the objects. So here these are working as same. But if you do I mean C dot equals to D, right? It's not A B. C dot equals D. Here, this is the quotient, right? This is the quotient everyone has. What is happening here, right? You have to realize these are two different objects. These are two different objects, right? These are not same values. You are not comparing strings here. You are comparing two cars. Okay, and car is not a string, right? It's not a string value. It's an object, and you can see these are two different objects. So if you are doing this, right, if you're doing something like this, right, if you're trying to compare this, are these equal? No, these are two different objects. These are not equal. But in case of string, right, this behavior is equal to, right? Again, Ashok,
It's
specifically
clear. Kill. Yeah, I
right?
got it. Yes.
No,
Yes.
there's one additional thing which I want everyone to realize. See here, you have to realize that when A dot equals to B is being checked, right? Here, again, it is comparing the objects only. Here, it is still checking whether these are both same or not. In case of string, right? It is still checking whether these are same or not. You can understand from here, these are not same. For string also, the objects are not same, right? But the creators of string class has overridden the behavior of equals method inside it. Okay, and there they have added the logic to check the value of the object, which is what? Akhil and Akhil in this case. That's why it is returning true. Did everyone get that point? Or let me just say it again. What is happening here? See, you have to understand what happens in case of equals. Equals, whenever you use equals, right, it will try to compare both the objects. If you had something like this, let's say if I do something like this, car, let's say E equals to C. Let's say car equals to C, right? What will happen in this case? When you do E dot equals C here, right? What this will return? It will try to compare this object with this. These are same, right? These are same. Both are pointing to the same object. In this case, it will return true, right? So you're understanding, right? When I'm saying equals, it is comparing the objects, first of all, right? So let me write here. Equals compares objects. Compares object. Okay. So this is also true for string, that it is comparing these two objects. And if you would see, these are not same. These are two different objects which are having different address positions, right? You can see here, these are different two additional address positions. But purposefully, the creator of the string class, the developers of the string class, what they have done is they have overridden this equals method, which is coming from the object class, right? We talked about inheritance and the polymorphism, right? We talked about overridden method. What can happen? Object is a parent and string is a child of it. This equals method is residing in the object class and in the string class. See here. This is the object class, right? This is an object class, and this object class has a method equals. Okay. This is an object class. And here the logic is written that it will always compare an object with an object. Okay. But when the developers of string created this string class, right, what they did, they overrided this behavior. First of all, they extended this object class, and as part of it, they got the equals method, right? And they overrided that behavior. Here they said, what they did was, they said object dot value equals to object dot value. Okay. And now whenever you compare strings with its equals to method, right, it is not comparing the object, it is comparing the value which that object holds. Okay, that's why you're getting true here. But in case of your car class, Did you override the equals method? No, we did not override the equals method, right? Did we do it? You can see we never did that. We have not overridden the equals method here, right? We have not overridden that equals method. So our object, so again, our class also, the car class also has this equals method, right? Because it got inherited from the object class, which is this part, right? But we have not changed it. So here it is still comparing object with an object, and these are two different objects, right? These are two different objects. That's why it returns false here. But if I override this behavior also, then you will see it will return true. And let me do it now. You can see, right? Public boolean equals overrided method. I will compare the object and I will do what? I will say if object, let me not write object, let me say here car. Can I write car here? Yes, I can do it. Is it an override method? Method does not override method from its class. Okay, it does not. Just a second then. How to do it? Object here. If obj, so this is the object which I get. Okay, just a second. Let me create the instance of it. Let me say car c1 equals to car obj. I can do this. You can see, right, what I'm doing. I'm doing downcasting. c1 dot name, right? I got this value. So c1 dot name, I can now access c1 dot name, and I will compare this c dot name with this. See this now. If this dot name equals to c1 dot name, it should return true. Else it should return false. I hope I have closed it correctly. Right? And now let's do it. Let's see what happens now. Okay. Earlier, right, when we were doing it, you saw it returned not equal. Let's see what happens now. Reached at end of line. Okay, what I did wrong. Oh, I not close the method correctly. Let me run it again. Equal, right? Did we got this or not? And this is exactly what the developers of string class had done in their logic. They have overridden the method equal method which they got from their parent, which is the object, right? So they override the behavior, and inside their logic, they started comparing the actual value which it holds, right? But in your case, when you design classes, right, you do not override equals method. So what happens there is it works in the default way, which is comparing the objects. Never in the world, right, those two different objects will be same. Those would be two different objects only. And if you use dot equals method, it would always return false only. But if you override that behavior that you do not want to cover the, if you're not comparing the objects directly, but maybe some value inside those objects, you can make a comparison of it, right? You can see here I am purposefully checking the name attribute from both the classes, right? And if these are matching, then I'm saying okay, these are equal, right? I hope this is clear. If it is not clear, please revisit the chapter, okay, and this will get clear. Okay, and this is the one of the important areas when we will start discussing corrections also. So this was a very important piece, equals method, right? So let me see here. I told you, right, the difference in this part, right? Why there is a difference of true and false? We told here the logic is already overridden in the string class where they compare the actual value. That's why it returned true. But in this case, it compares objects only. It compares objects, which is like no two objects can ever be same. Those will be different only. But if you change that logic, then it could be a different thing, like as we saw. Okay. So this is about the equals operation. So there are two ways: double equal to and equals, and we have to understand what are these. Okay. What we covered? We covered arithmetic. We covered relational. We covered equality. Let's very quickly cover the compound assignments. Let's go back in this part. Everyone is silent. I am. Did you not understood this, or is it fine? You may not. You may have not understood that what I did inside that method, right? But again, those are the concepts which I have already covered. The downcasting and the other part. If you don't understand, please try it yourself. Then you will understand it better. Okay. But you should be able to understand like how equals method and double equal method works. Okay. Let's move ahead. So let me make it main2, and let's create another main method. Let's very quickly say, what is a compound assignment? You would have seen sometimes what you can do is let's say you have this value in c equals to 5. Sometimes you would have, let's say you want to do an operation like this: c equals to c plus 5, right? You wanted to add 5, right, to the original value. So you will write a code like this only, right, Sally? Line number 8, you will write like this only, right? If Sally is there. Okay. So Suma, this is clear, right?
Yes, Akhil.
Right. Now c equals to c plus 5. So again, you can see, right, we have c on the left hand side and right hand side. In Java, you have a better way. What you can do is, instead of writing this, what you could do is, again, developers are lazy, so they try to find some quick way to write things. So here I will save one letter for me, right? So what I'll do is, I can write something like this: c plus equals to 5. This is the valid syntax. So you can read it like this. You can understand it like this. Let me write it here. That whenever you say this operation like double equal, plus equal, what it really means is, it means you're saying, again, this is the operation first of all, right? And you have a left value and the right value, right? Like this, left value and the right value. So what it really means is, it means something like this. You're saying left value that you wanted to add r to the existing value of l. So it is something like this: l equals to l plus r. Okay. And here, when you use these two assignments together, it is called as compound assignment. Okay. So similarly, you can do it for the subtraction also. C minus equals to, let's say, 2. You could do it for multiplication. C multiply equals to 5, or C divide by equal to, let's say, 7, right? Now, please let me ask one by one, what should I write here as the actual representation? Ananya, what should I write here at line number 12?
I would say C equals to C plus 2.
C plus 2 or C minus 2?
C minus equals to 2, right? C equals to C.
So tell me, what should I write? C equals to
C minus 2.
C minus 2, right?
Yeah.
So instead of writing this, you can write what? You can write this. Okay. But again, I know that not everyone will be writing this. But again, if you have a question, or if you find someone else writing this logic, right, then you should be able to understand that what is really happening, right? That is the only thing. Otherwise, writing this way is also fine. Okay. Let's move ahead. Let me ask Sudhakar, what should I write here?
C star 5.
C equals to C star, right?
Oh yeah, yes.
Okay. And what should I write here? Just one.
Yeah, C equal to C divided by
5, 7, right? Whatever the value is, right?
Yeah.
right? Everyone,
Yes.
this is how you do it. Okay,
7,
great.
right?
So these are called as compound assignments, right? Yes, 7, right? Okay, great. So these are called compound assignments. Great. So we understood this part also. One last part which I want to discuss is the conditional statements. So what is conditional operator? Sorry, not operator or what? Okay, let us see. Conditional operator is more like your if else thing, right? So what you can do here is how it looks like. Let's say C, right? C greater than 5 equals to S out. Can I write here system.out.println? Let me see. System.out.println. Let's say yes. And if not, it should do what? Say no. Can I do it? I think I cannot do it. It can only be the assignment operation, I believe. Okay, let me think about it. So what you will do here is you say C greater than 5, then B will equal to 9. Let's say. Let me create a variable of 9 int C equals to int B equals to 0. And I will say B equals to 9. Not sorry. My bad. What I'm doing is equals to this, and I have to assign a value. Okay, let me tell you this 9 or okay. Now when you see a syntax like this, it is a part of conditional operator. Okay, what is a conditional operator? Again, what are conditional, right? We have learned about if else statements, switch statements, and all that, right? So you can understand like this is also a part similar, something similar to it. What it is really doing is you can understand that this is something like this. If I write in the if else block, if I have to write the same logic using if else, I'm writing something like this: C greater than 5, then sorry greater than 5, then I'm doing S out. Sorry, not S out. I'm saying B equals to 9. Okay, else A equals to 10. Okay, writing these 5 lines is same as writing the single line. Okay, it's like a shortcut. It's like shortcut here. Okay, now what is happening here? B equals to C. How do you do this? You will add your expression if you want to check first of all, right, in this part, which is similar to this part. Then you will add question mark, which is a representation that it's a conditional operation which you're trying to do. So this will evaluate whether this returns true or it is returns false, right? This entire thing, because of this question mark, it will try to check whether this returns true or it returns false. If it returns true, it will run anything which is placed here before this column thing, okay? And if it returns false, it will run this one. Here we are and what you can do is you can assign, right, whatever value you're getting to a variable like this, right? Currently we are talking about an int thing, right? Let's say I'm not talking about int thing.
Call this ternary operator as well, right? This question mark and this statement which you wrote.
Binary operator. I
The
don't
question
think
mark
so.
thing. Ternary is something. There is some concept called ternary also, right?
Yes, I think that is you're right. It's called a ternary
Yeah.
operation, right? Right.
Yeah.
That is what it is. Yes, that is what it is. Okay. So what I did was, yes, currently I'm doing something like this, right? If I create a variable, let's say string name, okay, string name equals to null. What I can do also do is I can say name here, and I can assign. If this is true, I will assign Akhil, and if it is thing, I will assign Jen. Right? You're understanding the point, right? You will put a value which can be assigned to a variable of this type, right? This is the only point. And how it happens is it checks this condition. If it returns true, it will run this piece of thing which is before this column thing, and if it is false, it will run this piece of thing. Okay. And if you want to find the replica of it in the if else loop, this is how it works. So this piece of thing is same as this. Okay. Okay, so I think we are good with this part, right? So this is ternary operations or conditional operation, like whatever you want to say it. This is what it is, right? Okay, what last thing? Okay, I think I will not get time for other things today. But let me just quickly discuss about the shortcut circuit and the what is the other name? What is the other name? Does anyone remember what do we say this as? If I write, I'm forgetting the name actually. If I use double ampersand sign, this is called a short circuit. If I use a single operation of AND, what do we call it as? If anyone remembers, if anyone knows, this is the AND operation for sure. But there is one more name.
Ampersand.
Bitwise?
No,
Ampersand.
you're right. This is ampersand, but I think there was a name like shortcut thing or something. So anyway,
Bitwise and
Bitwise is what.
right. You're right. Bitwise, right? Bitwise, I believe yes. But which one is called bitwise?
bitwise
That is
and
something bitwise and
bitwise and the entire
bitwise
thing,
and
right?
okay. Bitwise and right. This one, right? The below one.
Yes.
Okay. I am not sure. Like, do we call this as bitwise or this as bitwise? But let's see. Okay, let's see.
When
Uh,
there are two pipes, then what do we call it? I'm confused.
sorry.
But when there are two pipes togetherly, what do we call it then? If this is bitwise.
See, I'll tell you. See, there are two operations which you can do in a logical operation, which is an AND thing and an OR thing, right? The AND thing is represented by the ampersand sign. Okay. So if you want to do an AND operation, you will use what? Ampersand sign. If you wanted to do an OR operation, you will use what? A pipe sign. Okay. And in Java, there are two flavors of each one of them. So you could write something like this, double ampersand also, or you could write a single ampersand also to perform the AND operation. Similarly, in case of pipes or the OR operation, you can use both the techniques. You could either use two pipe operations or you could use a single operation. Okay. And here, right, there's a difference if you use this thing or if you use this thing. First of all, ampersand, I think you got your answer, right? Ampersand represents AND operation and pipe represents OR operation. Okay. Sally, we are good on this, right?
Yeah.
Right. What I'm saying is inside this and or also, right, there are two things. One is called as this double ampersand and one is single thing, right? Like this. Similarly for the pipe also. Maybe I can, if I can show it, it would be more better. Let me again expand, make this 3 and very quickly start with the fourth one. What I will do here is let me take some variables. Int a equals to 6, let's say, and I will say int b equals to 9, int c equals to 5, int d equals to 3. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll add an if logic. I will say if a equals to 6, let's say, right? I wanted to write two conditions. I wanted to check if a equals to 6 and also b equals to 9. What should I write? So you understand, right? If that is the condition, then I want to do something, right? So I need to add one more logic here, like this. Let's say I want to compare it. B equals to 9. Okay. But again, these are two different conditions. This is one condition and this is another condition. But you can see it is still complaining. Why it is complaining? Because we would have to add some logical operation here, which are ampersand or an OR operation. Right? So I told you that if both the things are true, then I want to do something. So what should I write here? AND operation or OR operation?
And
AND, right? So now when you say AND, you have two options. Should I use double ampersand or a single ampersand? You can even write this. Again, you can see the error is
you should
gone.
use double ampersand only, I think.
Sorry?
Double ampersand.
Double ampersand. But you could also write a single ampersand also, right? This would also work, right? This is also mean AND operation, and even if you use double ampersand, this is also means the AND operation. Right, everyone? I will
But
tell you
wouldn't
what is.
it give a different output?
See, logically, it is still the AND operation, right? So it will not return a different output. It is the way
Okay.
it depends, right? I'm coming to that part, right? Why I'm saying something as a short circuit. What is a short circuit, right? I'm coming to that part. But you have to realize you can either use a single ampersand and a double ampersand, but both are doing the AND operations only, right? This point should be very clear. If I write this or if I write this, right, your end result would be same. So there is no change in the end result. Okay, everyone? If you want, I can print this. Let's see. True or yes, let's say yes only. Okay, and let me print this first. It returns yes, right? And if I do ampersand again, ampersand here also, right, it also returns true. Okay, it is again yes. If I do an OR operation with a single pipe, right, it will also return true only. Again, this is all true. That's why it is written true, right? So it returned true. And if I use a double operation also, again the single pipe or double pipe also works the same way, right? In the end, it returns the same thing. But let me show you this. What I mean to say. Yes, I was saying. Yes, okay. Okay. Let's very quickly talk about this. 7. Let me add here. Yeah, see here. Let me draw a table. Okay. Let me draw a table, and I will tell you. I have one condition here, right? Condition 1, which I am checking. Okay. And I am doing ampersand ampersand, and I'm doing condition 2 here, right? So everything is inside the if block, let's say, right? And I'm doing an ampersand ampersand. This is case 1. So this is case 1. So case 2 would be the same thing like this, but here we will have only a single ampersand, right? Now let's look at the our Boolean table, right? We would have learned this in college time. You could create a Boolean value table. What you can have is, let me create here condition 1, condition 2, right? And in the end, what is the end result, right? What you can have, right? This is the part. Let's say this condition returned true. The condition 1 returned true. So what are the possible cases? There are only 4 possible cases, right? It could be either both could be true, or one could be true, the other could be false. This could be false, or this could be true, or this could be, or both could be false, right? Do you see any other case, anyone? For a true value, I mean a true false kind of a value. I'm sure you will not find another value here, right? So these are the only possible cases. If you are doing a AND operation on true and false, right? Let me write here your end result you're doing for the AND operation, right? What will you get? To perform the AND operation, right? And if you want, if both are true, only then it will get true. Otherwise, everything will be false, right? Everything will be false. I hope this is clear to everyone, right? That if you are using an AND operation, this is how you get it. Now see this. Let's say in this case, right? You see this. Let's say that once the program starts executing, it will start reading from this line, right? Let's say it start reading from this line, and when it goes to this line, it will start evaluating first condition 1, right? Once it will be done with it, then only it will go to condition 2 to evaluate it, right? Everyone, we also agree on this point. So see here, what will happen if the condition 1 return true, right? If this return true, then you still have a chance maybe condition 2 may get false, right? Which may alter my output. So this is necessary to check condition 2 here, right? And if it return true, then it is true. It is okay, fine. In the second case also, if condition 1 return true, then it is still, I mean, important for us that we go and check condition 2. What if it returned false? And if it did return false, as per this output, we were returning true till now. But as soon as we got false, we are saying, okay, the output would be false. So there's a need to evaluate both the conditions right here, right? We have to evaluate this also and this also, this also and this also. And then we can make a decision whether what will be the output, true and false. But let's see the third case. You got false in the first condition itself, right? And now it would not matter whether these, what would be the output of the second condition, whether it is true or false, because you got one false and you're using an AND operation. What would be your output? False only, right? Because one of the condition returned false and you're doing a logical AND operation, and always needs everything to be true, but you got one false already, so it does not matter whether you check the other condition or not. In the end, you will get the false only, right? Does everyone agrees on this part also? Right? Now, this is the thing which Java is trying to help you with. Java is saying, if you think that there is a need that you really want to evaluate both the conditions, right, irrespective of their output, right? Let's say that even if I return false, I still want to evaluate this one. Let's say, then you should do what? You should use double ampersand. Okay, you should use double ampersand, right? In this case, both the things will be evaluated. Okay, but if let's say that you have on, I hope I'm saying the right thing, it could be the opposite also, but let's say that I'm saying the right thing. So if you use ampersand ampersand, it will evaluate this also and it will evaluate this also. When let's say it returns false, right? Then if you have used ampersand ampersand, so even this will be evaluated. But in case of ampersand, if your first condition returned false, Java will not even evaluate this. Java will say, if one returned false, for me the entire thing returned as false, because in the end this would be the output only, right? This would be the false. So what is the difference here between the double ampersand and single ampersand? The difference is, in case of double ampersand, everything will be evaluated, but in case of a single ampersand, only one condition. On in case of single ampersand, right, what will happen is, if one condition returns false, the rest of the conditions will be skipped and they will not be evaluated, because in the end you will be getting only false only, right? So I hope now you're getting the difference. What is the difference between double ampersand and a single ampersand? And this will become clear if I use some incremental operations while doing this. Let's do this. And I think this will also cover your increment and the postfix and the prefix operations. So let me do this. If I do something like this, A equals to B ampersand ampersand, A equals to 5, let's say, and I will say plus B equals to, let's say, 10. I cannot do this. Why can I do this? Variable expected. I am doing the variable part. Okay. I am doing something wrong. What I am doing wrong is I am using single equal to. It has to be double equal to. Right? Right. Now see this. Let me make it in its own bracket like this and this. If you would see this, right? What is this we are doing? It's a prefix operation. Again, one kind of operations again in Java. Plus plus means here you are doing a prefix operation. Okay. So this will first increase the value and then evaluate. Plus plus B means what will happen here is, it will first increase the value of B by 1 and then it will compare. Okay. So let's see this. What will be the output? And in the end, let me just print this also. I will print the value of A and I will print the value of B also. If see, if both the conditions are evaluated, right? Are evaluated, then what will be the value of A in the end? 5 only, because I have not made any change to it. Okay. And what would be if nothing happens, no change happens in the value of B? What would be the output? 9. But if the value has been changed, right? If the value has been changed because of this operation, then the value would be what? 10, right? So let's see what is our output of A and B. Let's run this. We will see, and we'll get to know. Here, okay, okay. Then okay. The only thing which I have to say here is here, right? I explained you the opposite of it. It is a ampersand here, and this is the ampersand. So this is a short circuit. Ampersand is termed as a short circuit operation. Okay, short circuit operation. If any of your condition returned false, the overall condition will be treated as false. Okay, overall condition will be treated as false. And in case of a single AND operation, everything will be evaluated. So see here, if I use ampersand, you can see what happened here. It checked this condition, A equals to 5. Is A equals to 5? No, A equals to 6, right? So it returned false. Since it returned false, it will not even go to check this. And since it is not evaluating this condition, it will not perform plus B. If it would have performed plus B, what should have been the value of B? 10 at this line. But it is still 9. So it means this condition never got executed. Let me try ampersand now and run this. It should return 10 here. You see? Is it making sense now? What is happening here? Let me write it here. Your ampersand thing is what? Is a shortcut thing. If anything returned false, right? If anything returned false, right? It will skip the other condition, skip the other conditions. Skip the other conditions. Okay. And if it returns ampersand, right, it will be the normal operation where it will not skip, right? It will not compare the sorry, it will not skip the conditions, right? It will evaluate everything. Okay, it will evaluate everything. Okay, ampersand. So this is a non-short circuit. Let me write it here. I'm not getting the exact name what we saw it. So if it here, it evaluates everything, so it does not skip anything. Okay, it does not skip anything. Okay, so I hope now this is clear, right? So again, similarly for the OR operation, this is also how it works. Let us just very quickly see the OR operations. So in case of OR, what will happen if it is an OR condition? In OR condition, the logic is if one value return true, right? It does not matter what is the other value, right? If one value return true, the overall output will be true only, right? So this will be true and false, it will be true. If this is false and true, it will still be true. And if it is false and false, it would be false. So only in this condition it will be false. So if you use a single pipe, right, and you try to evaluate both the conditions, right? If this condition, I mean, in this case, both things will be evaluated. But if you use OR, right, I mean, this double pipe, what will happen is if any of your value return true, if any of your value, right, return true, it will skip the rest of them. Okay. In case of ampersand, what was happening? If any of your value was false, the others were skipped. So in case of true, in case of OR operation, if any of your value return true, it will skip other thing because it knows if one became true, then whatever would be the output of any other condition, it will always be true only, right? In case of OR operations. And in case of ampersand, if any of one of them return false, then it does not matter what is the output of other things. Anyhow, overall output would be false only, right? So that's why this is how it works. Let me show you this very quickly. If I say over here, right, and let me say it as true, right? So this condition will return true, right? This condition will return as true, and it will, since this returned true, right? Since this return true, okay, this is single pipe, so it will evaluate both the things. So what would be the output here? The output in this case would be A should be 6, right? And B should be what? B should be 10 only, right? B should be 10 only. Let's see this. I hope I'm saying right thing. Right. Let's see. Right? 6 and 10. Because both the conditions are evaluated. If I use double pipe here, what will happen? As soon as this return true, right? This will skip. So this will never execute. So what will be the output of B? It is still 9. It is not incremented. Let's run. Okay. Okay. I think we are good for today.